Okay, in Maya, we're going to show you how to take your animation that you've created and export it out as an image sequence to then bring it into Premiere and then export out from there, add in a background. So here are the things that we're going to do today. I'm not going to show you guys as a class how to do this because there's so many little buttons to push. And to be honest, the rendering out from Maya, I never remember how to do it. I always just kind of Google search or I go back to my notes on how to do it because there's several little small buttons that must be pushed. So here, we're going to do a thing. I'm just going to create a very simple animation. Let's see, there's my ball. I'm going to create a animation that's 24 frames long. And wrong button. I'm going to set a keyframe there, and then halfway through that animation, the ball's going to go up, and at the end, it's going to go back down. Look, simple animation. I'm also going to add in a camera movement. Let's do camera and aim. Let's move that camera back, and let's put that aim directly on the ball. Let's see, so as the ball goes up, that's fine. My aim should follow the ball, but it's not a big deal because I'm going to set a keyframe for that camera, and then I'm going to move that camera back. So that way the camera's moving back, but I'm also, as I'm moving back, I'm also going to have it move to the side too, just so that way we can see kind of a 360-degree view. Let's see what that looks like. So I can see, so that is a pretty terrible animation. But let's go back. And you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to delete that out, actually, and I'm going to add in a cube doing the same thing. Because a cube will allow me to see the dimension of the sides and things as it is moving. So let me show you what I mean by that. So as I'm going to the camera, I can see the side of it. See how I can see how the camera's turning, whereas in a sphere you can't really do that because it's spherical. So there's my animation. It's a pretty crummy one, but I like it. We're good. Okay, so let's go back to my perspective view. All right, the first thing I need to do is, for my animation, I actually need to add a ground because I currently have just this cube that's bopping up and down. There's nothing that it's bopping up and down on. So I need to create a floor. Now you guys already have this because I gave you guys that environment to use. So I'm going to, let's see, let's make this really thin. Let's make this big on either side. And so I've used a cube, and then I've used my tool here for scaling to create a ground. Okay. Now, let's also do a little thing. I'm going to add some materials to this stuff. Let's say the ground here, right click. Stop. Oh my gosh, stop it, please. I'm going to assign a new material to this thing. Let's do a blend. And then on my blend, I'm going to put a color of, what do you guys think? I'm going to do that. Yeah. I'm also going to come down here and I'll put a little reflectivity on it, make sure that's on there. So I'm all good and everything's fine. On my cube, I'm going to do the same thing. Let's assign a new material. We'll also have it be a blend, and then I'm going to put that as something different. So let's say a deep blue. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. You fool. So let's change that to there. We're good. And then on my cube, nope. You silly goose. Look at that. I need to stop saying silly goose. Let's make this blue. I like blue. Blue's a good color, guys. All right. So I have this really terribly colored cube, even worse colored ground that it's now on. Looks good. I have my camera set up, so let's look through the camera what this is going to look like. Okay. I'm going to move the camera up because I can see beneath my ground, which is not good. So let's go back. And then that camera, let's move that guy up. And then by here, where are you at? Move him up too. So let's see what that looks like now. Oop, our camera's too far back. See how I don't want to be able to see where the ground ends. Now I can either extend out the ground or I can just go back and move the camera forward, which I think I'm just going to do that because it seems way simpler. So let's move that guy up. We can do like almost an aerial view as it's going up. So let's see that. Okay, that works. Fair enough. You see a little bit of the ground here, but I'm going to ignore it for now. All right. So I have my material here. I got my material there. I'm feeling good. Okay. So now I need to render. So I'm going to do a couple of things. This little button right here is my render settings. Okay. Now, get out of there. Now I have a few things many things I need to click on in here. For one, the render we're going to use hardware, Maya hardware, and that's going to render it out a nice smooth image. Okay. So as I go down here, we're just going to let the Maya deal with the color management as we set. I'm going to name the file. So I'm going to name this test render. No spaces. So test render, no spaces. If you want to add a space, put a dash or a underscore. We're going to save it out as JPEGs. All right. I don't want to export out a single frame because I want to export out all 24 frames of my animation. So I'm going to come down here, and I'd like you to choose this one, the name, which is going to be test render, and then an underscore, and then the number.jpg. Okay. This frame padding here, this just adds more and more numbers, if you can see right here, to the file name. So if you're exporting out thousands of images, as your animation was 30, 40 minutes long, you're going to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of frames. So I need more padding, but because we're only doing 24, I really don't need that much. In fact, 2 will be enough. So test render, and then the most will be 24. Okay, let's come down here. We're going to start on frame 1, and we want it to go the entire time. So frame 24. We're going to render out every single frame, so just by ones. I'm going to use the camera, not the perspective. Let's see, the rest of that's good. I want to use full 1920 by 1080, which is high definition. Okay, looks good, looks good. Okay, I think we've hit everything that we need to hit. Okay, so now that I have all of this set, I need to do something that's very, very important. I need to make sure that we're saving this to the right location, because right now we're saving to desktop Maya test render images. So I'm going to create, and if yours is saving out to the right spot, that's perfectly fine. But if yours says like documents or Adobe something or wherever, just come down here and we're going to go to set project. So we're going to go file, and then we're going to go to, actually I'm going to go to save scene as. Let's save this because I never even saved mine on the desktop. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Maya exporting. And we're going to call it exporting example for me. Okay. Now file, set project, and we're going to make sure that that goes into that Maya exporting. Okay. I'm going to set that. We're going to create this as the default workspace. So you should see that it's going to save out to desktop Maya exporting, and it's going to create a folder called images. It's going to create 24 images from 01 to 24, all JPEGs, all at high definition. So everything's looking really good. Okay. Now, so that's the render settings that we go through. And you should probably much always use those same render settings. Now I need to go to render view. And that is, let's close that out since we're done with that. Here's the render view. Oh, ignore the background for now. But this is my terrible colored, let's see, that's not the right view. Let's go to render sequence. That's my last render that I did. I'm not really sure why that's loading. But either way, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to render the current frame. Cool. Okay. So it loaded my last exporting out that I did with the sky and all that stuff. But you can see what this thing is going to look like once it's rendered out with my crappy color this and my blue ball. So I'm going to go to render, and I'm going to go to render sequence and hit this little square right there. Okay. I'm going to choose camera, and everything else should be set exactly the way that it is. So I'm just going to render this sequence. Okay. And you can see it's going through every single frame and rendering it out. So as it's doing that, it's almost done. We'll wait. Okay, it should be done. So let's close this. We're done with that. Let me open up my render, my exporting in the images file. And let's see. There is all of my images. Now, my lighting looks terrible, and I would go back in and then adjust my lighting, making it brighter. But I'm not going to do that, because if you want to adjust your images, you can do that. So here's my video, and I have frame-by-frame animation of that I just created. Now notice that that background is black. We want to add in a color or anything else, an image back there, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of these out. And I'm going to do this again. Except for this time, I'm going to go to View right here, and I'm going to go to Camera Attribute Editor. And on our camera, we're going to set in the environment here, so right down in here, we're going to set a background color, okay? So if I set a color, and let's say that I were to set a color that is, like really sky blue, okay? Then I've just added a sky blue back here. And you may want to do that. You may, if you want to, you can choose a color if you want to add in some kind of like dark sky or something. But I can also hit create, and I can add in an image here, which I'm going to add in a sky image that I have. Okay, and now I've created this image here. So let's go see what this looks like as I'm going through. All right, so that is not, let's see, as we render this guy out. There's my sky blue that I've added, and we're going to export this out and see what happens. All right, so back into render, render sequence, same exact thing, camera 1, and we're going to render it all out. All right, so we're done with that. Let's see what we got in our images. I added that background. I think because I added a color background, it's overwriting my image of my sky. So I probably should not have put this on first and just created my image with my sky first and then export out. So I'll let you experiment with adding colors and images into the backgrounds, but that's how you add in, like if I wanted an image of a sky to go into the background, okay? Now, great, and actually I might add more about this during class, but that's okay. So once I'm done and I have all of my images exported out, I need to open this up in Adobe Premiere. All right. And I'm going to have to do something in Premiere first before we're able to make this fully work. Let it open. Let it open. Oh, come on. Guys, I was expecting this to open up pretty quickly, and that's disappointing. All right, here we go. So in Premiere, I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to save this bad boy to that same folder on my desktop desktop, and it was Maya exporting. Choose. Okay. Oh, should have named it, but whatever, that's fine. Now, I'm going to create a new sequence. I'm going to make it 1920 by 1080, which is this guy right here, 24 frames a second, which is what my Maya document was set up to. Okay. And I also need to go to Premiere Pro, Preferences, okay? And if you go to, which one is it? I think it's Media. I think the wrong one. No, hold on. I forgot which one it is. I never remember, guys. Nope, nope, nope. Get out of town. Which one is it? Where are you at? What I'm looking for is the one that'll allow me to set how many frames and images when you bring it in. Get out of here. There it is. Timeline. Set still image duration to 1 frame. Okay. Now, I guess it defaults to 2. Why would it do that? We'll leave it there for a second. Okay. So and now when you bring in an image, typically it brings it in, and when you drag it in, it's 5 seconds. But we cannot have it be 5 seconds because we need it to be 1 frame. Okay. So I bring my project here, and I drag in all of those images that I had. They should be in the exact order of 0 to 24, and I'm going to drag them into here, and then they should play just fine. Cool. So now I have my 3D animated film brought from Maya into Premiere, and then from here, it's 2 things that you need to do, which is things we've always done before. Sequence, render into out, let it render this footage that you have, so that way it plays nice and smooth, which it'll eventually get there. And then file, export, media. And this should all default to the exact same thing you want, which is H.264, and then a medium bit rate. Choose where you're going to save it to, same folder, final export example. Everything gets exported, and that's it. So inside that folder, I should have a final export example. And this is how the many steps you must go to create an MP4 from 3D animation Maya. It would be so great if they had just this as a function in Maya, but they do not. Okay, so there you go. Those are the steps. We'll talk more about it during class.